All right, welcome to the CrossPoints podcast for another exciting episode. We're back. Now, many of you might not know this young gentleman right here with me on screen today, but why don't you tell everybody your name?
My name is Joel Holland.
Joel is awesome. Joel is our missions director at CrossPoints Church. He's awesome. What I'm going to be doing for once a month over the next several months is we're going to be having young leaders from CrossPoints Church on this podcast, and we're going to talk about core values of CrossPoints Church.
You got to have them.
We do, and how we're going to pass those on to the next generation of leaders. So we're going to have a great time doing that. But before we dive into what our core values are at CrossPoints Church, I want the people out there, they want to know,
They've got to know.
They want to know who you are.
Who am I?
Who is Joel Holland?
How far back should I go,
The
David?
man, the myth, the legend, Joel Holland, right here, folks.
It's a lot of buildup.
Well, they're excited about this.
I've been here at CrossPoints Church about a year now. I was thinking about that.
1 year already?
In 2 or 3 weeks. It'll have been 1 year.
Joel, where have you come from? Why don't you give us a little background of yourself? So I'm going to ask you some questions. Where did you grow up? Where were you born? Tell me about that.
I was born, well, first, let me say, my parents were not supposed to have children. The doctors said it was biologically impossible. So even sort of my origin story is kind of miraculous. They said you can't have kids. They met in Salisbury, Maryland, both born and raised in Salisbury, Maryland, met, married, tried for 4 or 5 years to have kids. People prayed over them for years, and then one day, my mom got pregnant.
You got to be kidding.
I know.
You talked about origin story. I was thinking you're like a superhero or something.
No.
I mean, well, you know. So
it's all the Lord.
It's all the Lord.
Yeah, seriously.
That's pretty cool. So 4 or 5 years, they were really praying, and just out of the blue, they
She came home, I'm pregnant.
What did your dad say?
He was ecstatic.
Oh, had to have been.
And they had been praying about maybe adoption.
Really?
Which was, in their heart. But they also were like, Lord, we really want a biological one of our own. And so I was there first. And then after me, Becca came 3 years later. And then Olivia 2 years after that. And then they ended up adopting from South Korea. Yeah. So I'm the oldest of 4.
Oh, my goodness. What a great story.
I know.
There's a lot of passages in Scripture about women who aren't able to have kids.
Oh, for sure.
Right? They pray, God answers, and then that child becomes pretty significant. Oof. So, guys, keep your eye on Joel here. No, seriously.
We'll see what happens.
God wants to do, right? He's got a plan for your life, obviously.
Seriously. Huge, just coming from that legacy and that, graciousness from them.
Yeah. Have you had that in the back of your mind? Like, man, I'm here for a purpose. Like, God's got a destiny for me.
I've been told that a lot. I don't know that I've connected it with that story so much. Not as much as you think. Yeah. So that's a great reminder. Yeah. Okay. Obviously, always felt loved by them. But yeah. For sure. So
Maryland.
I was 4 or 5.
Okay.
My dad taught at Salisbury State, English professor. My mom was a physical therapist.
Hang on, Salisbury State.
It's a
college.
That
sounds like
it's
steak
a college
that we're going to eat. Salisbury State?
Yeah,
I don't know. Okay.
So he taught English somewhere in Maryland.
Like
English professor.
English professor.
Prof, literature.
Really?
All that good stuff.
Wow. Okay.
My mom was a physical therapist, and they felt called to leave it all behind and jump into missions. Family thought they were crazy. Friends thought they were crazy.
Well, most people
do.
This is going to tie into our core values today.
Yeah.
But they let it all go. What did they? Was it a message? Was it they felt like God spoke to them? Why did they leave everything?
It was a few-month period. They both kind of felt stirring in their hearts separately, like if we don't leave now to serve the Lord, we're just never. The word they use a lot when they tell that story is comfortable. Okay. They just felt very comfortable, and they said, if we don't leave soon, we're not going to. And they felt that pull to the mission field. So,
but was there some message? Was there some
specific sermon?
Really?
No, it was just a course of time. They were like, we got to do it. Wow. I think they started to feel a little antsy almost.
Really?
Like this isn't what the Lord has for us.
This is not the future that God has for us. And if we don't jump out now, we're really never going to fulfill maybe what his first purpose is for us.
For sure. And they tell lots of funny little stories. Like they ordered Schwinn's food. I don't know if you know what that is.
I have that. Schwinn's?
Schwinn's
I don't
food.
know. What is the Schwinn food?
You order it, and it comes to your door. It's like this fully packaged dessert, all that. And my dad said, after a couple years of doing this, because they had the same Schwinn's guy come to the door.
Okay.
He said he kept gaining weight and talking about how good it was and how he ate it 6 days a week. And my dad said, I kind of saw, like, that's me. Like, in a physical sense, but also spiritually, right?
as well. So he was seeing his future, and it was like, it was not looking good.
So that's one of the stories they tell, and they're like, we just felt like
so interesting.
We're so comfortable.
So you now are not being raised in a comfortable environment.
No.
You're, what'd you say, 4 or 5?
Yeah, real young. 4
so
or 5.
Your whole world changes. Where do they go? So you go to Africa? So you go to the deepest, darkest jungles?
YWAM, Youth with a Mission. You're familiar.
YWAM, I am, but maybe our people are not. Youth with a Mission, YWAM. Okay.
Missions organization started about 60 years ago now.
One of the largest in the world, actually.
Huge.
Yeah, massive.
Yeah. So they did sort of their gateway school, the DTS, the Discipleship Training School, and they were like, we're in. For like, missions is our thing.
Wow. Okay.
And so I actually lived in Asia for a couple of years.
Really? Can you say where, or is it still kind of undercover?
They'd rather me not.
We will not say. It's blanked out.
It's
redacted.
Say Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia.
That's as much as I can
All right.
give you.
So you lived in Southeast Asia. How old were you?
I was 11 to 13.
Oh,
sort of that
my
chunk.
goodness.
Yeah.
Those are pretty formative years.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did you know the language? Did you learn the language? Did you know the kids? Did you grow up among missionary kids? All these questions.
That's good. Those are all good questions.
Our viewers want to know.
So I went to a school that was sort of a hybrid. There were kids that were local. There were missionary kids. It acted as sort of a co-op school. So we'd go some days a week, take homework back, and I was meeting kids from all over the place.
Really?
Cultures from Singapore, Thailand, and I mean, it was an experience. And to answer your language question, one of the classes that they kind of institutionalized was Mandarin.
Right.
They said, you got to learn it.
You got to learn Chinese.
So many people in East Asia speak.
It's all over East Asia, yeah.
And so I was intimidated. You're 11, 12.
Oh, my
And a lot of
goodness.
there were some kids from South Korea that were just so quick. Probably 6 or 7 of them. And I'm like, man.
And they've already picked up on the language.
So behind. And so what I would do when I'd be in conversation.
Yes.
And I just got stuck. Because you say, ni hao, hello, whatever.
Yeah.
And then they're like, oh, this kid speaks Mandarin. A million miles an hour.
Sure.
I'm stuck. Sure. So I would say.
So you get a little bit like deer in the headlights kind of thing.
Tinggu donga is like, I don't understand anymore.
Okay.
And they thought that was the funny. Tinggu donga, they're all laughing and like. So that was my
making fun of you at that point,
yeah,
right?
Absolutely. But it was still sort of like a good cheer. Like, this kid's trying to learn.
At least he's trying.
Beautiful experience.
So how much of the language did you end up learning?
I would say now I probably have like a 5-year-old's vocabulary.
Really?
It's not awesome, but I can order
He
food.
is naturally fluent, folks. So if you want to have a conversation with him,
I'll translate for you.
He's going to translate for us. That's fantastic.
I can order you dinner.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, how would you do that?
Well, depends on what you want.
Show me your skills. I want some pizza. No, I want fried rice.
Chow mein, you know how that
chow
is.
mein,
If you want eggs in it, ji dan.
Ji
Ji is like the beginning of chicken. So ji dan is chicken egg. Dan is just egg.
And it's dan.
Yeah.
You have to give
You've
the,
got to.
do you
Well,
have
they've
the
got
intonations?
4. They've got, the up, down.
Right.
So I can say like, how. Like the 4.
Okay,
it's
hold
all
on.
the
Do
same.
that one more time. A lot of people don't know this.
Yeah. No, it's
because
awesome.
in English we don't have this. So it's 4, and based on the intonation changes the meaning of the words.
And you can see it in the language. There's the dash over it, so it's like how.
Right.
And in your ear, when I'm sitting in the language class, I'm like, this all sounds.
They're all going how.
Yeah, you can either order duck or insult the teacher's mom. Like, you gotta be careful. Seriously, yeah.
That's awesome.
So
that's crazy. So you're learning the language. You're 11 to 13 years old. You're going through the how.
All the
right,
hows.
all that. Which is it's such a fun language. It's such a fun people. I love Asia.
Oh my gosh.
Really, I want to make clear, I'm not mocking or making fun of it because I love the people over there. I've traveled over there so often, so they have a real
Their
soft spot
culture
in my
is
heart.
so honoring,
so amazing.
You know,
yeah,
you can't eat a snack in a room without sharing it with someone. I'd love that.
Yeah.
Where is that here?
Yeah, I know. The West could learn some thing or two about that too.
Yeah.
So,
I owe a lot to my parents for giving us that experience.
So here you are, 11 to 13, and you're in Southeast Asia. You're totally away from any kind of Western experience.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So what are the one or two? And I haven't asked him this ahead of time, so he's just come.
I love it.
What are the one or two takeaways that you have from we'll move on to past this once you move out of Southeast Asia later on in life. But what are some takeaways that you have from your experience there? What are some things that you learned?
I think listening goes a long way in terms of getting to know somebody. Yeah. So trying to make friends. I'm in middle school. Right. It's just awkward. And I think I wanted people to come to me. I wanted people to come approach me. And when I asked, so like, how long have you lived here? Or how long? Then they start opening up. And before you know it, there's a friendship. And I saw my parents do this in ministry too, because you're not supposed to just hit them with the gospel right away. Right. Government looks down on that. Sure. But they just ask questions. Yeah. How are you? How did you get here? What makes you tick? What are your driving passions? So I would say, my time in Asia taught me just really listen to people. Yeah,
and the one thing I've noticed about you, Joel, is that you know how to ask good questions. And I think that is a prerequisite for knowing how to listen to people. If you're not asking questions, right, then how can you have a better platform to listen to what they have to say? So
that's good.
Anyways, I think that's really good.
Wow, thank you.
So you're learning how to listen is a big one.
Learning how to listen. And I think also just not being afraid to try new things. Yes. I think when we went there, good. I'm 11, I'm 12, I have in my head what I'm okay with.
Right.
My sister too, it was so funny. My younger sister, she had 3 movies she was just comfortable watching, and she brought them with her to China. Willy Wonka, the Johnny Depp one.
Yeah, of course, yes, all right.
And then 2 superhero movies, one's called Zoom, one's called Sky High, and she just watched them on repeat. Really? And we said, Becca, there's other movies, and her reason was always, I know that I like these. I don't know that I like those. Yeah. And it was just hard for years to get her to watch anything else. And eventually I like this. Yeah. I like Babe, Pig in the City, or whatever it was. But that mindset, whether it's food or conversation or places, just like be willing to try it.
It's such a good model for life as well, because it doesn't matter if you're living overseas or you're here in Shawnee, Kansas, or wherever, right? We tend to get in these bubbles where we just want life to be very comfortable.
Again, it goes back to comfort.
Again, it goes back to what we're going to be talking about, our core value later on today. So hang on, folks, we're going to get there. But this idea of living in our comfort zone because it's what we know and we can put a box around it and feel very comfortable.
Yes, and it's secure.
It's secure, exactly. So you learned at an early age to break out of those comfort zones.
100%.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay, so you move out of Southeast Asia. Where did you guys move next?
We went to YWAM Nashville.
Okay.
So still the YWAM DNA.
Okay.
And that's sort of how I got connected to Mark Traver.
I don't know. It's all becoming clear. Mark Traver is our missions pastor. So your family then was in this kind of community.
We did life together.
You did life together.
Absolutely.
With Mark and hundreds of other people probably, right? Yeah.
He was the base director at that time.
Right, yes.
For sure.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, so now you're a kid, you're in your teenage years growing up in a community. So he lived in a commune, folks. Let's put it that way. That's not really what it was, but some people from the outside kind of think that.
Oh, yeah.
I have had those, I love YWAM. I went through YWAM, went through discipleship training school and all that kind of stuff, but some people think it is kind of a commune.
It's just different.
It's a hippie commune, baby. No, it's not. But you learn a lot of fun stuff. So what are some of the takeaways that you had growing up in YWAM as a kid?
Yeah, I think a lot of the similar ones, but I think that they slowly became my own. So I was watching, in my parents, and then when I'm 16, 17, I'm like, I'm going to have to leave the home soon. Right. So again, this thing of comfort, the YWAM campus was like 5 minutes from where we lived. I had community, the beauty of community I was shown so clearly in friends my age and mentors, people going through the schools. But I was kind of realizing if I'm serious about this, I'm going to have to make decisions towards it soon, because I can't just, it's mom and dad's faith.
Right, of course, of course.
Yeah.
So now you're faced with a big decision. Okay, where do I go next? And I have to make a decision. So obviously you're probably like most kids that graduate from high school. You got to make a decision. Where am I going to go next? Am I going to get a job? Am I going to be a missionary? And not a lot of kids think that, but some kids do.
You should.
You should, because it's an awesome career. Yeah. Or am I going to go into college? So what was the career path, or what was the path that you chose?
I tried while I was in high school.
Okay.
to sort of experiment with ministry. It sounds kind of bad, but
No.
put my feet in the water.
That's what I did.
I
That's
canceled.
not a bad thing.
Counseled at camp for 3 summers,
Okay.
just in high school. I was like, man, I really like this.
Yeah.
Investing in people
Sure.
with gospel at the center. And so then it's my last year in high school.
Okay.
I've got to decide. I
Right.
still don't know.
Where am I going?
I've got this pool between missions or education.
Okay.
And my 2 biggest passions still are the gospel,
Sure,
right? Telling
sure.
people about
Right,
Jesus,
right.
and writing. I've had this draw to writing since I can remember.
What?
And I wanted to grow that, right? So
Do you think you got that from your dad being an English professor?
100%.
Oh, okay.
It goes back
No question.
even farther. His
Really?
mom,
Okay.
to honor people in the family, people in the neighborhood, she would write them a poem. If they were leaving
Really?
town, if it was their 50th birthday, she would write an honorary poem. And I saw him do that in YWAM.
No
When
way.
people would leave staff, they make 2-year commitments or they're moving somewhere else, he would write a poem. And so I kind of grew up not only with the love for writing, but how it can be used to honor other people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty.
So to answer, yeah, for sure.
That's a great legacy to carry on.
100%.
For sure. So, okay, so keep on with the
Yeah,
story.
yeah, yeah.
here.
So I decided, praying about it, kind of counsel from family and
Yeah.
friends. I said, I think university is the
Yeah,
next step.
this-
I can study more of the Bible, try to keep practical, discipleship experience, and learn more about writing
Sure.
and that craft.
Okay.
So 4 years in college.
4 years in
was what was
college,
next.
and what was your degree? Was
Yeah, so my official major
Yeah.
was in Christian studies with a mission emphasis.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah, and then I minored in English with a creative writing emphasis.
There you go. Okay, so
Yeah.
this kind of goes to where I want to talk about too. If you don't know, Joel is an author,
I am.
published author, no less.
Super stoked.
So tell us a little bit about the book that you published and maybe your history behind that, why you decided to do that.
For sure.
Because most kids, you're not a kid, but how old are you? You're
23.
23,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you're already a published author.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Huge
so
blessing.
How and why did that happen?
Yeah, so I had tried to write big
Yeah.
projects in high school, early college,
Sure.
very ambitious. I'm going to write the next young adult fiction novel.
Yes.
The 400-page.
You're going to be the Harry Potter,
exactly,
whatever.
the
Yes.
dystopian,
Yes.
right?
Okay.
And I would always bite off more than I could chew.
Okay.
It was just a lot of pages that
Yeah.
weren't very good.
Right.
And
It's
so,
a lot harder to write than most people think.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I started working on short stories, and I
Okay.
found, hey, I'm drawn to this more because I can put a lot of effort into it.
Okay.
Still step back and say, this is a finished product. And then poetry is even a more condensed version of that.
Oh, interesting.
Because I can spend a weekend really,
Okay.
what am I trying to say? I got 1 page, and I can be proud of it.
Right, okay.
But not spend 300 pages. So again, to my dad's legacy and his mom, poetry was kind of where it was at.
Wow.
So over the 4 years at college, I kept, anytime something good, bad would happen, that's how I processed. And so
Really?
while I was here, actually, my first 6 months here, I sort of sifted through all of these poems. Which ones do I think kind of best represent my first 22 years on earth? Which, kind of going back to the story of my parents and how they couldn't have children, that was one moment where I was like, man, it is such a blessing that I'm even here and have all of these stories. And I referenced that story in one of the poems. So it's about 30 poems. They call it a chapbook. It's a collection of poetry.
A chat? C-H-A-T?
Chap.
Oh, a chap.
C-H-A-P.
P. What?
Don't know where the chap comes from.
You don't? Okay.
That's just what it's called.
That's what it's called. Okay.
I'm sure there's a reason.
I'm sure there is.
But
Chap.
yeah. So
if you know, let us know in the comments below. I would love to know what.
Why do they call it a chapbook?
What is a chapbook? I have no idea what that is.
But basically, it's a smaller book.
Okay, got it.
With a lot of condensed.
So are you telling me that you published that while you were here in Kansas City?
While I was here.
Oh, I thought you had done it in Tennessee.
It came out in February of this year.
Wow.
100%.
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
I'll tell you this. I try to write 3 to 5 hours a week.
Okay.
Even still. So my weekends, I'll go. And so that was something I was doing while I was here.
That is awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
so if they want to get a copy of the book, where do they get it?
It's
we will
on-
shamelessly plug
promote
your book.
Oh, please.
Would you do me a favor? Go buy Joel's book. Do him a favor. He's a young guy. Come on, do him a
help
favor.
me out.
Help
And
him
I don't
out.
even know if David knows this, but I reference you in one of the poems.
did
I
not know
reference
that.
one of the poems starts with one of your sermons.
Oh. Oh, interesting.
It says, my second Sunday in Kansas City, the pastor preached about, and then it goes on. Yeah, it's the first little couplet.
That's pretty awesome.
I'm not going to tell you which one.
I'm a major influencer, folks. I'm kind of a big deal. If you hear that from Aura, she's listening. Anyway,
I couldn't finish the book until I came here because I needed that couplet.
You needed
That's
that
what
one
it
right
was.
there. That's awesome.
So yeah, it's called After All, a 22-year-old's observations on living and passing through. And so again, just the stories of my life.
After All, okay.
It's on Target.com, Amazon.com,
Okay.
Books A Million. You just search it in.
We will put it in the link. Don't you worry, Joel. Your book's going to go viral after this episode right here.
Oh,
so,
man.
okay,
Thank you guys in advance.
I love it. That's great. That's great.
So
yeah. You must feel pretty good about yourself about that. Publishing the book. I would.
I owe a huge thanks to a lot of my friends for
Yeah.
helping me. There's something called Kickstarter.
Yes,
I don't know if you
Kickstarter.
know.
Very familiar
obviously,
with Kickstarter, sure.
You put it up there. You have prize options depending on how much they give, right? And so that's what I did to fundraise for this.
I had no
There were
idea.
people from this church that put... Yeah, my first few weeks here, I was like, this church is awesome. I don't even know these people, and they're...
Are you serious?
Supporting
I
this
would have
book.
supported it. I had no idea.
Well...
Pastor's always the last to know. I want you to know that, folks.
He's plugging the book on this podcast. I don't know what better way to support it, honestly.
That's awesome.
But,
seriously, that's
yeah,
good.
and I had some good friends from back home that helped promote it
So
and
good.
get it out there. And,
Wow.
Yeah.
Love it.
So super stoked about that.
That's great.
Yeah.
So what? So you graduated from college.
I did.
And now you have to make a decision. What am I going to do after college? I'm growing up now. What am I going to do?
Yep.
How did you find yourself now in Kansas City of all places? You went from Maryland to Southeast Asia to Tennessee. Now you're in God's country, Kansas City.
That's right.
I mean, that's where you need to be.
How did I get here?
How did you get here?
Well, as I'm in college,
Okay.
4 years, studying writing still, missions, and I had an opportunity to go serve overseas in Asia again.
Yes, okay.
The summer after college.
Got it.
But
Okay.
I didn't have any plans after that.
Right. What
So
am I
I
gonna do?
agreed. I said, and I had a lot of people come up to me and say, that's kind of bold that you're going to leave for 3 months and you don't know what's next after college. And when I heard this, I'm like, I should have prayed about it more. Maybe it's the wrong decision. Right.
Right.
So I still don't know what's next. And I get a call from Mark Traver,
right.
again, YWAM Nashville, and he said, hey, some of my kids are looking into college. We know you speak highly of yours. Can we come by and visit? I said, sure. So Caleb, his son, Caleb Traver, came up for the weekend, and we're talking.
Sure.
And eventually, Mark asked me, what's next for you?
Right.
I said, Mark, I have no idea.
I'm going on a 3-month trip, but I don't know what's after that.
Which I think the Lord was really kind of teaching me how to hold things with an open hand. Seriously.
Yeah,
because
okay.
even that trip to Asia, the leader, our partner there, was pulled from the team.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm kind of coordinating with Mark. I don't know what's next. And then we get an offer to go to Canada instead of Asia. And so I'm like, okay, instead of Asia, I'm going to Canada.
That's a huge shift.
But after that, I still don't know what's
Right,
next. And
okay.
he said, why don't you pray about coming to CrossPoints? And I said, okay, I'll pray about it. I don't know anything about this church.
Right.
And
yeah.
my head's still in college and what's next.
Of course.
And my buddy had a wedding up here,
Okay.
close to here.
Yeah.
He invites me. I said, I'm going to go to that church.
Right,
I'm gonna meet them.
just as an aside, right? You're already
You guys were awesome. They took me out to lunch.
We
on
are kind of a
Sunday.
big deal. I wanna
They're
say that
incredible.
again.
They brought me into a staff meeting. I mean, I got to see the DNA of this church, and I said, I want to be a part of
You
this.
saw behind the curtain, buddy.
They let me in.
We let you in behind the
First
scenes.
introduction.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I saw
What were
that.
your first impressions?
I think especially the staff meeting, how dynamic everyone
Okay,
was and how
yeah.
listened to everyone seemed to be. So Pastor Don Lewis,
Yeah.
who used to be the lead
Yes,
pastor
yes.
here, he was on the council and the staff board, and
Yeah.
I just remember thinking, man, if I'm in his position,
Right.
I would be offering my input way more.
Right.
But you would give yours, and then you would say, "What do you think, Pastor Don?" And I said, "Man, what a culture of honor! I love this." And then
That's
even
good.
watching how you and Jen interact
Yeah.
as siblings, and
Yes.
still, you're fighting for each other. This is good stuff.
Ah.
So that's probably one first impression.
That's very good.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. All right. So now you're there, and Mark kind of throws this out. You come and visit Kansas City, and so now you have to make a decision. You're gone for 3 months. What yeah.
I think I called him So it's my last semester in college ever. I think it was the end of February that I decided. So 2.5 months from graduation. Still didn't know. And I said, I'm coming to Kansas.
Just going to do it.
I'll commit to, I think I said a year.
Right.
I can do a year.
Yeah. Wow.
So, yeah. And then I went to Canada for the summer, and then I moved here.
Crazy.
Here I am.
And it's been a blast ever since.
Oh, it's been awesome.
Come on.
It's been awesome.
Joel, we are thrilled you're here in Kansas City. We're even more thrilled that you're here at CrossPoints Church. You add so much to the dynamic of our staff. You really do.
Thank
I mean
you.
that. We haven't had a chance to talk a whole lot, but what you do and who you are is really amazing. Wow. It's great. I love the fact, and I tell this behind your back all the time, that you have a great ability. He does. He has a great ability to not only connect with younger people, but you have a great ability to connect with older people as well, and everybody in between. And that is a special gift that God gives, because not everybody can do that, especially being 23 years old and being able to kind of merge between, older people and younger people. It's a great gift.
Wow,
so
thank you.
That's good.
Listening, I think, from being overseas and watching my parents.
It's true.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, well,
if you're watching, you guys are awesome.
They are awesome. Okay, well, so one of the things that I want to talk about just for a little bit as we're bringing in young leaders that we have here at CrossPoints Churches is some of our core values. And one of the core values, you actually hit the nail right on the head as you talked about it just a little bit ago. And one of our core values at CrossPoints Church is open hands. We believe in radical generosity at this church.
Yeah.
Because we believe that the more you give, the more you have, right? I mean, this is a principle that I think if you're a believer in Jesus, intuitively you know it as a Christian, right?
Absolutely.
Jesus says it's more blessed to give than
to
it
receive.
is to receive, right? But walking that out is way more of a challenge because
100%.
we tend to hold on to stuff.
I don't want to let this go.
I don't want to
it's
let
mine.
Go. I'm holding on. And so instead of holding on, we're trying to say as a church, we want to have open hands. And that is a core value that we have as a staff. Yeah. And it's a value that we have as a church. And so I wanted to, just as you as a young leader, when I say open hands, what does that mean for you? Not just so talk to me about what it means to you in kind of an up here kind of sense, and then what does it mean practically for you?
Yeah, that's really good. Okay. I think so up here, obviously the scripture you mentioned, it's more blessed to give than receive. Right. So I kind of know that intuitively, right? Yeah. Even my parents being missionaries overseas, they would still try to tithe and give to different people, and when they came home, they'd the first thing you do when you get the money is you tithe, because it's very easy to say, I'll do that at the end, and then you've got nothing left. Exactly. And so I noticed that, and I observed that, and I think spiritually that sort of taught me like the top of whatever I'm given, money or otherwise, I should give to the Lord because it's His anyway. So practically, what does that look like? Yeah. I think I've been relearning it as I keep being given responsibility at the church. Finances, things like that. I think, even since I've been here, watching how other people hold what they have with an open hand. Tom Hayes, I don't know if you watched this, but my first month and a half here, he just opened up his house to me. Oh yeah, this is an interesting story. He just let me stay. You did not have a place to go at that point. You were looking for an apartment and a place, and you didn't know anybody. And so Tom, one of our great guys in our church, he's on our board, as a matter of fact. I didn't know from Adam. We'd never met before. The first time I met him, he's showing me my new home, which is also his home. So he's living out as an elder board member here at this church, this open hand mentality. Absolutely. My house is your house. Absolutely. Here it is. And so I think that set a great example for me as I've slowly been given responsibilities and different things, like how can I hold this, whether it's my time. And I think sometimes after second service at church, right, most of the people have left. I'm kind of ready to go ready to be eat done. Lunch. Exactly. Right? I want my chicken and my mashed potatoes. And there's someone that wants to talk. And in that moment, you've got to decide. Exactly. Am I going to hold this with an open hand, or I'm going to say, this is really my time. That's right. Call me during office hours. You know what I mean? Absolutely. That's the temptation. For sure. So, and Jesus doesn't teach us to live that way. He teaches us to lay down our life every single day, right? And that's especially when it makes us uncomfortable. Yeah, especially. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I was thinking about the concept that
that we're talking about here about open hands and to live radical generosity. And one of the things that we've done as a church is, we've planted churches. And a lot of people, when we first started talking about planting churches, I had so many people come and talk to me and go, we can't plant a church. We don't even have 1,000 members in our own church. What are you talking about? Planting churches is for the big boys, right? It's for the churches that have lots and lots of people and lots of money. And my response to that is, well, one, as a board and particularly as a pastor, we feel called from God to not only send out missionaries internationally, but locally to reach the world. And the best way to do that locally is through church planting. And so we're going to live radically generous lives, which means we give away people. We hold people with an open hand. So we've launched 2 churches in the last couple of years, Bridgeway Church, Park City Church. And, we gave away almost a couple hundred people. We've given away several hundred thousands of dollars every single year out of our budget to those churches. So, it's a significant thing. But we do that because, why do we do that? Because we recognize the stuff that we own and the money that we have is temporary. But what we do with the money and the stuff we have can impact eternity. Right? Can I say that again?
Big.
Right?
That's big. Say it again for him in the back.
That's right. The stuff that we have, it doesn't last. If I can put it that way. I'm trying to think of other words to kind of come with. The stuff that we have doesn't last. But if we can use the stuff that we have, it will last forever.
That's so good.
And
radically
I think
generous.
Radically generous lives. And so how do we then walk that out in our own personal lives? So I was going to ask you one last question here, maybe kind of as we wrap things up. What has been one of the most radical, generous moments that you've seen in your life, whether you've experienced it or you've seen somebody in your own world kind of do that? And I'm putting him on the spot because he does, we don't talk about these questions ahead of time. But can you think of a moment of radical generosity that you have experienced or that you've seen?
I think growing up in YWAM missions, I can probably think of half a dozen times where a missionary gave to another missionary. Yeah. They maybe voiced at a staff meeting, hey, we're struggling this month, and maybe someone else in that room had been given a little bit extra. And again, the inclination is to say, well, I serve the Lord. I'm going to go treat myself. And their version of treating themselves is like the extra large box of Hot Pockets. You know what I mean? Like, I'm serious. And so
they don't have a lot in the first place.
So when they'd come back and say, I got this anonymous check in the mail, I'm like, wow. And sometimes if my family knew them closely, I knew this is from another missionary. How much more?
So it's way more humbling. It has to
100%. And then even like when my parents were on the field, I remember my mom praying out loud to the Lord because we had a dentist appointment. And because our funds, they tithed first, everything else. She said, Lord, if you want my kids to have like healthy teeth, you call this here. She said, I'm going to need you to provide. And I don't remember the exact amount, but what I do remember is within a couple of hours of her praying, someone knocked on the door and they had the check for the exact amount. Wow. And as a kid, I remember thinking, first, can you talk to God like that? As she's praying, like, Lord, good. She was praying in faith, like, I'm going to need you to provide this, or we're not going to have it.
Because you called me here. This is not my idea.
She was
your idea.
She was knocking, right? And so to see, and what he had said was, I've had this on my dashboard for weeks, and something just told me to come by this morning. Wow. And I'm sitting there like, you have got to be kidding me.
That leaves an incredible impression.
Goosebumps.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Because God hears prayers.
100%. And if he had said, it's been a few weeks since I wrote the check, they don't even know I wrote it, I'm just going to keep it maybe next month. So to see in real time how that impacted my mom, speaks volumes.
Wow. That guy will never know, or that person, whoever that was, will never know the impact, not only on your mom, but on you and the legacy that has.
Seriously.
And this goes to the point that the stuff that we have can make an incredible difference in people's lives. It really can. Yeah. So don't hoard your stuff, right? No. Don't hoard your stuff. have open hands to use your stuff,
Yes.
your money,
Yes.
your things, your time, your talent. We've been talking about generosity for the last 3 weeks at CrossPoints, but use your stuff. Jesus says this, use your possessions to open up eternal dwelling places.
Oh, that's good.
It's a powerful scripture. You can look that up. We'll put a comment in the section below on that passage. But Jesus says, use your stuff to have eternal doors open. In other words, use your stuff for the ability to affect people's eternity.
Because it multiplies.
Absolutely.
And you said, Jesus, I thought of the loaves and the fish.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
This kid had, I think it was a young boy.
It was a young boy, yeah.
It's all he had.
That's right.
Could have kept it to himself.
And look what happens. You think that kid ever forgot that? You think he was telling that story for the rest of his life?
Oh my gosh.
No question. Yeah. So,
that's awesome.
Well, that is one of the core values that we have at CrossPoints Church, is to have open hands, to live radical generosity. We do that as a church, as a corporate body, with church plants, with missions, but we also do that in our individual lives with people on our board that open up their homes, people that give.
Come on.
That give faithfully every single time they get paid. They write that tithe check out. They go above and beyond that to support our missions program here at CrossPoints Church. It's so good.
Thank you.
When we do that, we change the world.
In ways we can't even see.
Exactly. It's really true. We don't know what kind of legacy we're going to leave.
Incredible.
Well, thank you for joining us today on the CrossPoints podcast. I want you to do a couple things. One, subscribe. Smash that subscribe button. Like this video if you like it. That helps us so that other people can see the video.
Yeah.
And if you have any comments, questions, please make sure that you buy the book. What's it called one more time?
It's called After All by Joel Holland.
Love it. After All by Joel Holland. Do that. You'll do him a great big favor. It's one way that you can use your wealth to be a blessing to Joel. Thanks so much. God bless you guys.